We are live.
Hi, we are live. My name is Anik. Hi. I don't know if anyone is there.
They may not be there. My name is Kara. I am the graduate mentor for the Bio REU.
We've never done this before. So if you are watching this, could you let us know? I think that there's an opportunity to do questions somewhere on your screen. I'm not sure where, but if you see a place to write a question, maybe give it a shot. Sure.
But that's fine, because it's being videoed, right?
Yeah.
So people can listen to us talk even if they're not here.
And then I'll also have my email open in the event that you need to email.
Yes, and I will do the same because I believe some of the
in case there's a problem.
Are emailing me.
Because right now it says that we have 0 viewers. Actually, now I see down here.
Well, that's okay. We don't need viewers. We can talk about stuff and then people can view us later.
Okay, that sounds good. So, Kara, how long have you been being involved in the REU program for biology?
So this is my 3rd year being the mentor for the REU program.
Cool. Could you tell me a little bit about the program?
So the Bio REU program that Brandeis runs is specific for undergraduate students. We're looking for students that are really interested in doing research and haven't had an opportunity to do research before, or have had some limited opportunity to do research, or they're just looking for a new outlet in a type of research that they haven't been able to do because it's not in their area or it's not in their school. So we match our students with PIs, faculty at Brandeis who are doing research that coincides with the interests of the student, and then those students can come to Brandeis and they do research for 10 weeks, and at the end of those 10 weeks they will present a poster of their research to the Brandeis faculty and staff and other undergraduate students that are on campus, and there are some graduate students that go to this poster session as well.
Awesome. And I just noticed that we have a viewer.
Hi, viewer.
Hi, viewer, our one viewer. Could you, we have never done this before, so I'm going to periodically say this throughout this chat that we want your questions and we will respond directly to what it is that you're saying. So, yeah, so, and now I see that what will happen is once you type them in, we'll be able to read them right away and we'll address it as soon as we can. So once again, my name is Anik. Hi.
And my name is Kara.
And I'm associated with the MRSEC, REU, and SURF programs.
And I'm associated with the Bio REU here at Brandeis. Do you want to talk about how the MRSEC program is organized? So
the MRSEC program, the MRSEC REU program is mostly for undergraduate students at universities and colleges outside of Brandeis who come and do research here on campus, and we match them, each of the undergraduates, with a faculty person within the MRSEC. So the MRSEC in Brandeis includes research and faculty who are in the physics, biochemistry, chemistry, and biology departments. And so the students get matched with a faculty person, and then the faculty person selects a graduate student or postdoc as a mentor. And the students come, they do research throughout the summer, and hopefully have a great research experience, continue to love science. And then at the end, there's the poster session, which is kind of like the ending, which almost all of the undergraduates on campus participate in, and SciFest is the name of it. And this is my first year being involved in the MRSEC REU program. So I'm really excited and happy happy to be a part of it. Okay, so now I've noticed that we have a few more viewers. Welcome. I'll say it again. My name is Anik. Hi.
My name is Cara.
Please write your questions directly into the app. We will read your questions and respond to them. Otherwise, we will just talk, and we might not talk about the things you want us to. So please.
If you don't have questions, but you have a topic you want us to cover, toss in a topic. If you have a question, you can write your question. Anything that would help direct us in the direction of things that you are interested in.
Otherwise, we'll just talk. Okay. Does anybody have, one of the things that we could talk about would be research projects or expectations or logistics or things to do around Brandeis. Let us know if any of these things are interesting to you, or if you're having problems writing into the question area of this Hangout. You can also email me and let me know.
Whoever you have an email for, you can email either of us, and we'll be checking.
Do you have any comments about maybe, I don't know, what do you want to talk about?
We can talk about sort of the structure for the summer if you want.
Sure.
So I know that I have emailed out a calendar to the Bio REU students. Have the MRSEC students received a calendar as well?
Yes, and all the faculty and mentors have too.
Yes. So everybody has a calendar. The calendar is mostly finished, but may have a few edits over the summer. You will see on your calendar that there are some social events, there are some career building events, and there are some other events that you will be participating in with other people from your RU. We have a question, by the way. Research projects, expectations. Wonderful. I'll just finish up on the calendar and then we can address that. So the events on the calendar are sort of a guideline to ensure that you guys have an experience where not only are you doing research, but you're learning about the atmosphere of scientific research. You are learning about what other people are doing for their research. There's going to be some opportunities for you to hear some seminars from people who are further along in their research, or for you to speak with graduate students to hear what graduate school is like and what people spend their time doing in graduate school. And there's also going to be opportunities where you can speak to the people in charge of the program to give them any feedback that you have. So if you're having problems in your lab, or if you're having problems with your housing, or you're having problems just being in the area and not knowing what to do, we'll be here to answer those questions. And there's a lot of meetings that are focused just on checking in with you guys to make sure that you are doing well, and how we can help you for any of the situations that you're in.
Okay, so talk about research projects and expectations. So I think that maybe we can start this conversation by saying that this is really specific to the lab that you end up joining, and it's going to be part of a conversation that you have with your mentor. So the specifics are going to have to be nailed down once you meet with your mentor and talk with them about what their needs are, what your needs are, and what would be appropriate. But I guess another general comment would be that the project, we're going to tell our mentors and emphasize to them that they should select research projects for you that are appropriate for your time here on campus, and that their expectations should be clearly stated so that everybody's on the same page.
So what I've noticed, at least in the Bio REU, is generally what will happen is the faculty member will have some idea of the topic that they want you to work on. So they'll have a specific project in lab that's happening that they have available people to mentor you on, and they'll sort of put you there. But then when you speak to your mentor, there will be sort of a discussion about the stuff that interests you. Generally, your mentor will talk to you about the project that they're on, and the things that they do, and then a direction will be decided for you and your project. So you'll discuss what you're interested in, they'll pick a direction of where your project is going to go. Generally, they'll set up some sort of outline of these are the things that we're going to try to accomplish, this is the scientific question we're asking, and then you go from there. There's generally a lot of bumps in this road, which sounds terrible, but actually is pretty awesome because you guys are doing research that hasn't been done before. So many of my students have ended up doing techniques that haven't been done before in their lab, and so they spend time troubleshooting them to get the techniques to work. And their mentor is, of course, helping them with that troubleshooting. But these are new things that the lab doesn't know how it's going to turn out, and your mentor doesn't know how it's going to turn out, but it's something that you can take in a specific direction that you're interested in. So I would also suggest that if there's something you really want to know how to do, talk to your mentor about that. So although you may be doing a project that doesn't involve a specific technique, if that's something you want to learn how to do, speak to your mentor, and if it's something that your lab does in general, I'm sure that they can set you up with somebody who's doing it, and during your downtime for your project, go visit them and see what they're doing and talk to them about their project. I would also encourage you to talk to the other undergraduates that are in your lab. Most of the other undergraduates that are not part of the REU programs have been in the lab for at least a semester, so they have some idea of how the lab runs, and they're a really great resource for how they've been dealing with their project and how things have been going for them, who can answer questions for you, because of course everybody in the lab has their own subjects that they're really good at, and I'm sure that the undergraduates who have been in that lab can tell you, this person really knows this topic, you should go talk to them.
Yeah, so some of you, so I sent this invitation to people who are part of the REU program, but also part of the MRSEC SURF program. And so the SURF program is for exclusively for Brandeis undergraduates to participate in research at Brandeis over the summer. And so in our weekly meetings, so for the MRSEC Monday meetings that's on your calendars, I've asked the SURF students and the REU students to attend these meetings. And so the people who are not from Brandeis will be able to, get tips from the Brandeis students and share progress with them. So that's one thing. And then also at some of the other events, the community building events that we've got planned, other students from other labs will be participating in these. So you'll have a chance to talk with people who are either in your lab or out of your lab, but sometimes issues can be universal, and so you can talk to other people and find out how they handle that same thing, and and find out what works.
So we're particularly interested in making this an opportunity for all of the undergraduates who are on campus doing research to be able to get together. So there's lots of events where all of the undergraduates on campus will be at those events. There are some events where it's just going to be the Bio REU, but the Bio REU does have a handful of Brandeis undergraduates. There's going to be some events that are just the MRSEC students. There's going to be some events that are Bio and MRSEC, but only the Bio and MRSEC students. But there are other students on campus who are going to be doing research, and we're going to make sure that there are events where it is a time where you guys can all talk and you can talk about how things are going. People who have done research before can talk to people who haven't done research. People that have been in the Boston area can talk to people who haven't been in the Boston area. We're trying to make this an opportunity where you can all talk to each other and you have an opportunity to talk to somebody who can answer the questions that you want answered.
Once again, my name is Anik.
And my name's Kara.
And there should be an option for writing a question on the side of the screen, and also you can email us. So one of you has emailed me a question. Hi, Devin. You've asked, you say that you appreciate the calendar. It seems like a useful outline. I think a good concept to talk about would be a standard day in the lab and or those meetings mentioned in the email. Along with what you're saying now, should our projects be in line with what our PI research is? Will you tell us where to meet for the side classes, breakfast, dinners, etc.? Can we expect a publication of the program? Okay, so that's a lot of questions.
But we can address all of these.
We can address all of these. Okay, so first one is a standard day in the lab. So I'm going to come back to that one because I think all the other ones are quick answer questions. So a standard day in the lab will come next. The next one was, should our projects be in line with the PI researches? So in rare situations, you will have control over your project completely. I would say most of you should expect that when you arrive on campus, you're going to be given a lot of instructions about what you will be doing. And the research you will do will definitely be related to what the PI does, because it's going to feed into that PI's grander vision of the work that he or she does. So if you go to the website, what you will do will be a part of that bigger project.
So I can give you an example. I had a bio REU, so I'm a graduate student. I had a bio REU student in my lab who I was mentoring. My lab does work on E. coli and DNA. I do specific work on a specific protein that structures DNA in E. coli. I spoke with my student and asked, sort of what they were interested in, and I proposed a few projects, and he decided that he wanted to work on this other protein that also structures DNA that has some really cool phenotypes when you use certain drugs. So there are certain drugs that I've used for my project that I've seen some cool phenotypes, and he wanted to see if he can see interesting phenotypes with this drug relating to the specific protein he wanted to work on. So while he did not get to just pick out of the air what project he wanted to do, he did get a choice in the project. We did discuss what he was interested in. We discussed what techniques would be involved based on what project he would be interested in doing. I do a lot of microscopy, so the project that he ended up doing actually involved a lot of microscopy. But there are other things that I also do that he could have done those things as well.
And whereas when I was a graduate student from 2006 to 2012 here at Brandeis, and when I mentored summer students, I didn't really give choice. So I was different from Kyle. So instead, what I did is I gave each of my students multiple projects, and I said, we're gonna have you work on multiple things all at the same time, and it's okay if some things don't work. We're gonna make progress a little bit in all of them. But they were all related to a larger goal, for sure. They were very, very related. It's just that I usually would give 3 specific projects. And so everyone has their own style.
But this is typically how it will work.
Yeah.
Anik's style of doing it is very common. My style of doing it is also fairly common. Most likely you will start in the lab with reading research papers related to what your faculty member does. So almost every graduate student and postdoc in a research lab has some thread that is connecting their projects. So there are going to be overarching themes that you'll need to learn that your mentor will find research papers that will help explain those to you. And you will most likely be spending a significant amount of time your first couple weeks reading some papers about what actually goes on in the lab and what topics they're trying to address and what techniques they use.
And then Devin, he had emailed me, which you can do as well. So either write your questions within this Hangout window or send us emails. So another question is, will you tell us where to meet for classes, breakfast, dinners, etc.? Absolutely. So I will give you explicit directions about where to be and where and when things will be taking place. And if you are confused or I am not clear enough, which can happen because I'm so familiar with campus that something that seems clear to me might not be clear to you. So I don't know that unless you tell me. So if during the summer I say, okay, we're all going to meet in Cossau, and to me I think, oh, I know exactly where that is, but for those of you who aren't familiar where the biochemistry building is, perhaps let me know and tell me, hey, we don't know where that is. Then I'll go, I'll send more emails. So yes, my intention is to tell you where to be and when to be. But if I make a mistake, please, I want your feedback. So let me know.
I am essentially doing the same thing. I intend to tell everybody where they're supposed to be. I have tried to include locations on the calendar, but sometimes those change and sometimes things get added to the calendar. So I tend to send emails to everybody weekly-ish or talk to them during our weekly meeting about where stuff is. If you have any questions, of course, you should email me and I will gladly answer those questions. If you're walking to an event and you realize you have no idea where the room is, catch another undergraduate that's walking to a similar event or a different event and ask them, where the building is, and I'm sure that they will be glad to help you. If you're leaving your lab to go somewhere, you can always ask somebody in your lab, where is this building, or what is the shortest way to get to this building, or any of those questions.
Okay, next question that was emailed to me was, can we expect a publication out of this program? So I would say you should not expect a publication out of the program. I think that some of you might get on a publication, but I would expect that for many of you, the research that you do, it will contribute eventually to a publication, but I don't think that you should put the pressure on yourself or for this experience that it will necessarily result in a publication. Of course, it could happen.
So a lot of what both of our programs, well, all three of the programs do, is to give undergraduates an opportunity to experience what it's like to do research. So you have a mentor who is explaining to you how they do research. They're talking to you about how research is done in general. You're going to get a lot of experience looking at scientific questions from different angles. You're going to get a lot of hands-on experience learning how to do different things. But as any researcher will tell you, it takes a while to learn how to do things that you've never done before. So the reason that and I think Anik agrees with me, the reason that you're not necessarily going to get a publication out of this is because it is a 10-week situation. And a lot of that time is going to be spent learning to do things that you haven't done before, or learning how the lab functions, or reading papers and learning about the topic that you're going to be researching. So while I do expect that you're all going to do meaningful research and you're going to get something done, you're going to answer some sort of question, it most likely in 10 weeks is not going to be enough that it's going to become a publication.
I mean, some projects are just, there's a lot of that you have to work out first. Like as Kara was saying, some of the most exciting projects are doing something for the first time, a technique, or you doing a technique for the first time that no one ever in the whole world maybe has ever done. So it'd be incredible if the first time you did it, it worked, and it worked really well, and that that would be great. It's just that you don't walk into it. I think it's a setup for disappointment if you walk into it thinking that you'll get a publication, but definitely expect that you'll get a lot of experience and it will be meaningful. Those things I think that we can be assured that you'll get out of it. Okay. Oh, and the date, the everyday typical day. So once again, if you have a question, we're going to talk about what the typical day is. But if you have an additional question, please write it within the app or send us an email. Okay, so let's talk about typical day. So typical day, I'll describe what I think a typical day will be like, and then you can describe. And I think that these are just two these are two viewpoints, and it will vary lab to lab. And so this will be something that you'll need to talk about with your mentor. So if the hours that you work within a day are something that you're concerned about, or you have an issue with, or you have to do something in your day, like every day you work out, or every day you have to eat lunch at a certain time because of your low blood sugar or whatever, just say it outright, clearly to your mentor, and then you guys can be on the same page, because they won't be able to read your mind. Okay, so a typical day, and for me, for doing research, would be to arrive on campus between 8 and 9, and then for the undergraduate to arrive between 8 and 9, and having already had breakfast, and then to get to work, but not to just jump in at the bench. What I usually expect undergraduates to do would be to actually do some prep for the day. So to look at their calendar, to look at their experiments, to look back at yesterday, to look ahead in during the week, and plan what they should do during the day. Like, are there meetings that day? Is the mentor going to be around that day? Whatever the boundaries of the day are. For me, this is something I do in my personal life. So I write on the top of my notepad my meeting schedule, just so I am aware. Even though I have it electronically, I write it down. So I encourage my undergrads to do this, so they're not late to meetings or whatever. And then plan, okay, what are the big, long experiments I have to do today? And at what time do I need to start them so that I get out at a good time? So because for me, I like to eat meals. I like to make sure that I'm having my food at
So I'm sorry, some of my students apparently just emailed me they did not receive the invite to get to this, so I'm going to work on that while Anik finishes talking about that. So I try to schedule my day so that I can definitely make lunch and dinner. So if there's a long experiment, then I'll plan it so that I finish it before 5 p.m. And that I don't need to do any hands-on things, say between 12 and 1, unless I have to. And so on a typical day, I'll do that planning activity for about a half an hour, and I really invest in that time, and then launch into what are the things that I have to do, whatever they are. And typically, in a typical day, there's a meeting. So go to that meeting and talk to people. So do some science, do some talking with people, have it in a meeting or just one-on-one, and have some failure and have some success in the science, and then get home for dinner. Sometimes after dinner, I might need to work on my computer for data analysis, or sometimes even go back into lab if there's something I forgot to do, like inoculate some cells or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna just check in with the fact that people haven't been able to get contact. Okay, so so why don't you send me that email? Can do.
Okay, and then
I tried sending a link, but I'm not sure that the link I sent worked, so I'll forward it to you.
So everybody who is tuned in, thanks for tuning in. We're just going to handle the fact that some people have not been able to access this live chat, so we want to attend to that. And Anna, I see that you wrote an email about Who Cash cards. So I sent an email to you guys about with a link that described places where you could use your Who Cash card. So you can check that out. I don't know it off the top of my head, all the different places, but I know that there's like a delicious sandwich shop that accepts the Who Cash card money. Okay, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think you might just need to send an invitation to him. I can describe a typical lab day for me. It's actually going to be really similar to what Anika just mentioned. So for an undergraduate working with me, most likely they would arrive between 9 and 10. And this is mostly because I arrive between 8 and 9, and then I try to organize what I'm doing before I chat with my undergrad. So they'll arrive between 9 and 10. And at that time, they will come in, they will do what Anika had mentioned. So they'll try to figure out what they plan on doing. They'll outline their day. They'll see what experiments need to be done today, what they need to set up today so they can do for experiments tomorrow. And then generally they'll come talk to me. We'll have a chat about what their plan is for the day, why they're doing the things that they are going to be doing, what they're setting up for tomorrow to make sure that they didn't miss any preps that they need to do for tomorrow. Then again, we'll look to see, do you have other things you need to do today? Are there meetings? Is there lab meeting? Is there seminars that you have to go to? And then we'll look at how you plan on organizing what you're going to do. There are some things that have to be done at specific times. So I, in particular, work with E. coli. If you want to use your E. coli, it has to be at a specific growth density, which means that you have to have started growing it at a specific amount of time prior to when you want to use it. If you let it grow too long, you can't use it. Then
I would say almost all of the labs, even some of you who are in the physics department, are going to need to know that. That's just.
So you're going to end up in situations where, you know, you need to time things, and sometimes things don't work out properly. Most likely someone in your lab has experienced many times things not working out properly and knows how to fix that or address it or what to do about it. But it's really good to start off knowing I'm going to set this up so that I am done to go to the seminar that's happening at 1 p.m.
Yes. And do it ahead of time. What's really hard is when, let's say, there's our weekly, for the MRSEC, our 12:30 meeting on Mondays. And at 12 o'clock, let's say, you all of a sudden realize, oh man, there's this thing I've got to do. Like, that will be hard if you go to your mentor and say, help me. I mean, the mentor will say, oh, you know, okay, sure, like you forgot, that's, you know, that's fine. But if you do that over and over, it starts to feel like you're not taking responsibility. So, you know, from my perspective, I want you and your mentor to have the best summer possible. And that will mean you need to take charge of your experience. So you need to be looking at your calendar and saying, oh, I have a meeting with Anik today, or, oh, at 4 o'clock, there's this dinner or gathering or whatever, because your mentor won't have it memorized at all. Like, even if, like, you know, it's week 6 and you think, oh, it's Monday again, it's my 12:30 meeting with Anik. My mentor obviously knows that's what I have to do today. So they would obviously have planned that this experiment is appropriate for the day. You know, don't put that on your mentor. Like, you need to take charge and say, oh, hey, as a reminder, I have a meeting at 12:30 today that I'm required to attend. So I don't know, will this experiment work for today? So just communicate with your mentor and take ownership of your responsibilities and your summer experience. That's what yeah, but it will be up for you to do that. So again, I don't know if these are the same people watching or different people, but my name is Anik.
And my name's Cara.
And you can ask us questions for the next 25 minutes about anything you want regarding to our REU or SURF program. So there's an option on your screen, I think, for typing in a question, and if that doesn't work for you, then to email us. And we're trying to, you know, this is our first time doing it, but hopefully it'll be a way for us to get some questions answered.
And if you are viewing this later because we couldn't figure out how to let you participate during this, we apologize ahead of time.
Totally,
but
right.
yes, feel free to listen to this, and if there's anything that we didn't address that you want to talk about, you can email us. Absolutely.
But I just did it.
I might have gotten that email before you did it.
All right.
Okay. Just to wrap up what I was saying about my typical day. So after all of that planning, generally around noon, there's either a meeting or there's lunch or there's something that goes on. So normally I will schedule with my undergraduate planning some experiments, setting up experiments, doing some things that they know how to do. Lunchtime comes around after we get back from lunch or get back from our meetings or whatever we have to do. The early afternoon is usually the time where I will talk to my undergraduate and show them how to do something that they haven't done before. This, of course, depends on the day. Sometimes there's afternoon meetings or lectures, but generally in my lab, it seems to work pretty well that my afternoons are a block of time that are pretty free. So that's the time when, if there's a new experiment that my undergraduate hasn't done before, but I need to show them how to do things, that's the time that I'll show them how to do it. We'll go through the process. They will take notes about what they need to do, how to do it. They'll finish up the things that they have been doing in the morning, and then sort of around 5 or 6, they will be done for the day. I have had undergraduates who have come in later than that for various things. So again, if you need to set up some cultures for something that you need to do tomorrow, or if you've forgotten to do things or something like that, people have come back to campus. Well, you guys are all on campus, but have come back to the science building that they're working in to finish what they were doing or to start up something quick. Or even to just come and use a printer to print off some of the papers that you're going to be reading. So that's typical for my day. But a couple of other things that are probably going to be happening during your week. There are several labs that have a journal club. And what goes on at journal club is a member of the lab will present a scientific paper that has recently occurred or a scientific paper that is specific to a topic. So one of the journal clubs that my lab has done is to catch up everybody on the research that goes on in my lab. So we start at the beginning of my PI's research experience and we go through all of the papers. So these are previous papers. But there's also journal clubs that will happen of like current papers that are happening that have just come out that people want to talk about the things that have been found in those papers. So that's generally an hour-ish long meeting that you will be listening to somebody talk about a paper, and then there'll be discussion about the paper. And then there's also lab meetings, which every lab most likely has. And these meetings, there's a couple of different ways these meetings can run. My lab runs their lab meetings so that everybody updates everybody else on what they've been doing. So we go around through everybody in the lab and everybody says, this is the thing I'm working on, this is what I've accomplished this week, this is my plan for next week. If I have things that haven't worked that I want suggestions on, I can tell everybody what I've done that hasn't worked. If I have something that I thought worked really well that was really cool that I want to tell everybody, I can tell them that.
Whereas like my lab meetings during grad school were different. It was more, it was one person was scheduled ahead of time to present, and it was always a PowerPoint presentation. And it was kind of formal. People would present their research in a PowerPoint slides and the data. Sometimes with some background, depending on if undergraduates were in the audience or not. And then questions were welcome. It was very informal in that people could ask questions, but it was also formal because someone had to prepare, professional looking presentation.
And the majority of you are going to have to do that. So even in my lab, even though our lab meetings in general are informal, if we have people who are finishing up a project or getting ready to leave, before they leave, they present to the lab a formal PowerPoint presentation. And most likely, most of your labs are going to have you do that, probably during your last lab meeting.
And I would say that this is something that can be kind of anxiety provoking for some people who don't have that much experience presenting. And if that sounds like you, then that's okay. Just know that lots of people have felt that way in the past, and that you can talk to me, Cara, about your experiences and needs, and my suggestions that if presenting is something that makes you nervous, to number one, plan ahead. So knowing from right now that at the end of the summer you're going to have to present, you could start working on it, week one. You could, have your background slide started. And then, so getting a head start early, and then maybe getting some tips from us about what would work best in your lab, if it's PowerPoint or not. Not every lab does PowerPoint. And if you need access to a computer that has PowerPoint, then we can probably help you there. And then, so this could be something early, but if you start thinking about it once you get on campus, I think that will be best.
And you can also speak to your mentor. Mm-hmm. It's usually a good idea to run your slides by your mentor, just to ensure, there isn't something that they think you should be talking about that you've missed, or if they can tell you, your audience knows this already, you don't need to include this particular background slide, but your other 3 background slides are really useful, that kind of thing. So your mentor is someone who is going to be a contact person for you in your lab, and they're going to be interested in helping you along the way. So,
because it's and maybe let's talk about that mentor dynamic, because it's a little bit of for me, I worked before doing graduate school and getting involved in academia. And so for me, I had a lot of jobs in which I had a boss, and that boss sometimes evaluated me in an annual review, or paid me or something. And so that was the dynamic, is that they were my boss. So you might be thinking that, or confused maybe, is this person my boss, or is the professor my boss, or are we your bosses? And I think that this is where the answer is kind of and kind of not. So you're getting paid for the summer, so it is a job, but it's also an experience, and it's a training. So it's not a job, really. And so, and also the mentor is not a boss, because they're not, number one, they're not the one who's paying you. And their expectation is that they're training you, not paying you to do a service. And
so most likely your mentor is not going to feel like they are in charge of you, in the sense that they need to decide what you're doing. They need to make sure that you're doing it on a daily basis. They need to ensure that you have a task that you're supposed to be completing, and that you completed the task. Most likely what your mentor is going to do is they're going to feel that they're there to help you get what you want to get out of this summer. So yes, you're going to have some task that you need to do. There's some scientific question you're going to try to answer, but your mentor is going to lead you along that path. Some mentors are more interested in keeping you directly on the path. Some mentors are happy to allow you to veer from the path and guide you back as you need it. But most likely your mentor isn't going to be someone who is going to be standing over you, reminding you to do things every day, saying, when are you doing this? Have you gotten this done? you need this done by this time. They'll most likely give you deadlines in the sense that in order for you to get anywhere in your project, you need to do this first, this second, this third. This is going to take this much time. You really need to get it done in the first 2 weeks so that you can move on to the second thing. But they're not going to be monitoring your time secondly or minutely.
No, we accepted you into this really competitive program because you showed us in your application that you could be independent, that you deserved this trust that Kara's talking about. So you coming into Brandeis, into these labs, like it's under the expectation that things that maybe someone in a lower skilled position, like they might be tempted to do, like not come to work or like leave early or whatever because they don't have ownership over it. We trust that, you know, things like the hours you work will be appropriate to what your needs are, and what the needs of the lab and the experience are. So it's kind of like a different paradigm from a job, where when I'm in a job, I kind of am like, okay, I work 9 to 5 or whatever, and I have this holidays that I definitely want to use as much as possible, and basically, how much can I not be at my job is my goal. Whereas when you're doing research in the lab, it's a different paradigm of thought. It's like I need to get this question addressed. I need to figure things out. And then that might not. Maybe that might mean that you don't come in at a certain time every day. It might mean that you need to stay late. Like people in the Haber lab have to do time course experiments that go like 36 hours. And so they actually, I mean, probably an REU student wouldn't do that. Only a graduate student or postdoc would do it. But you might need to be in the lab, like sleeping in the lab, you know? Like there's some graduate students who do that if they're doing one of these very rare and specific time course experiments.
This would not be something you do on a daily basis.
No, definitely not.
But your mentor is also somebody who is interested in what you want to do and interested in helping you pursue that goal. So if you are interested in learning more about a specific subject, or you're interested in learning where certain types of research are happening. So if there's a specific type of research you're interested in and you're interested in going to graduate school and you want to know what places do this research and where would be best for me to go to graduate school if I want to keep doing this research, your mentor is there to help you with that. Those are things that your mentor wants to help you with. Those are questions your mentor can answer. Those are questions your mentor, if they can't answer, can find the answers for you. They can send you to the right people. These are the kinds of things that you should be talking to your mentors about. So not only just the specific science you're doing right now, but the range of scientific interests that you have and career goals and things like that. Both your mentor as well as the people in charge of the various people in charge of your programs are all interested in helping you with that.
So we just got a question. Will we have to pay to use the school's gym facilities, or will it be provided?
You guys should, and I will check on this, but you guys should have access to these things with your ID.
Yeah, so free.
So when you get here, you guys are going to get IDs. Your student ID should allow you to access the gym for free, should allow you to access most of the facilities that other Brandeis students can access for free.
Other questions? So again, my name is Anique.
My name's Kara.
And we're answering questions about this summer's REU and SURF programs. You can ask questions on your screen or by emailing us. I think just to add about about this conversation about a boss and expectations, just because it really, really was something that affected me when I was starting in graduate school, and when I was in that first year of graduate school. It's very similar to what you guys are going to be experiencing as part of the REU program, you do these things called rotations. And rotations are short-term projects, very similar to the summer undergraduate research experience. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was confused about how much I needed to plan and how much I needed to be told what to do and how much I needed to do on my own. And the truth is what happens is that your mentor will tell you some of what to do, but will expect that that you kind of keep the thread going of your own project. So I had this experience where when I was in my first rotation of graduate school in Jim Haber's lab, I was assigned multiple projects to work on all at the same time. And I was working on them, and then I was giving my weekly check-in with my mentor. And I remember I did something that was I didn't know it, but it's like a classic mistake, is that in my weekly check-in, I said, okay, so in project number 1, so I did this, I amplified this, and I did this and that, but you know, it just, the second thing, it just isn't really working. And I don't know, even though I'm like summarizing the story, what the problem was that I was using shorthand off of like a note that I had from an earlier meeting about what my first project was, what my second project was, that was very clear to me about kind of like the context of what I was thinking and where my problems were and everything. But that code did not mean anything to my mentor. And so my mentor was just like, whoa, slow down. What are you talking about? I have no idea what project number 1 is. Like, give me some background. Give me some, like, what are you talking about?
And this is one of the reasons that it's really important for you to learn the background of your project and know why you're doing things. Because your mentor is going to be helping you with your project, but most likely has 3 projects of their own and is helping someone else in the lab with some other project. So when you say, for my project, I just PCR amplified what I was supposed to with primers 3 and 4 and got a 200 base pair band.
Is this correct?
I'm going to look at you and say, I have no idea. I have no idea.
What do you think? Right. Is it supposed to be correct?
I have no idea what project you're talking about. I have no idea what you just amplified. I have no idea what PCR primer 3 and 4 are. So it's really important for you to know the background of your project so that you know why you're doing things, so that you can say to your mentor, I was amplifying this gene because I'm going to put it into this plasmid. I amplified it and it came out this size. I don't know if that's correct. Can you help me figure out if that's the size it's supposed to be?
Yes.
So that's something that if you are not already familiar with doing that, you will get more familiar with it while you're here.
Because your mentor will probably, just like my mentor did to me, kind of like, and not embarrassed, but like just kind of like pointed out to you that like they just have no idea, and you will not be able to communicate with them unless you become more clear with what your issue is and what your project is, and being able to say so succinctly, because your mentor, just as Kara was saying, is going to be really busy, and they're not getting paid additional money or anything like that to mentor you. This is just part of so you're doing an undergraduate research experience, mentoring you is part of their graduate experience. And so while that's part of their experience, it is reality more work for them. And so they might be busy and preoccupied and thinking about a million things. So being able to ask for help in a clear, and just in a clear way will better serve you and them. Okay, I got an email question.
Okay.
What other services are included with our ID cards? Does it include bus services to and from the city and lab access? And if I do, and then there's a who cache question. So
do you want to do ID?
Let's do the ID things. And then we'll do
Okay,
the crash
so
question.
your ID will allow you to access the buildings that you have been predetermined to need to enter.
Right.
So most of the buildings are unlocked for a certain amount during the day, 7 a.m. to like 6 p.m. or something like that. Otherwise, they're locked. Some of the labs are locked all the time. Your ID card will allow you to enter specific buildings and labs that you need to enter. And if you find that they don't allow you to enter that building, you need to talk to either us or someone in your lab so they can contact the appropriate offices to get you access. Your ID card will also allow you to use the gym. And I believe it will allow you to get into the student center. The card itself does not provide any bus access. However, Brandeis has vans running to various places. I am not
on a limited schedule.
On a limited schedule. I'm not completely sure what the schedule is and which vans are running, but we can definitely get you that information.
And then the train, because like probably some of you are going to want to go into Boston, and so the train is totally separate from your ID card, and there's not any, there's not like a discount on the train for having a ID. Too bad. But you probably, because the train station is really, really close to your dorms. And so I would imagine that you probably will end up going into Cambridge and Boston as like a fun thing to do, maybe even more frequently than going into Moody Street in Waltham, even though Moody Street is really, really cool and I suggest you check it out. But it will just be convenient for you to go into Cambridge and Boston. Mm-hmm. And Zarian, we see your question. I just want to answer very quickly about the MRSEC specific question about WHO cash cards.
Yep, so we'll answer the WHO cash question and then we'll answer your question.
So this is just a MRSEC specific thing about there is an opportunity to either have your WHO cash card or opt out of WHO cash and have a reimbursement. So if you happen to spend less than, if you opt out of the WHO cash, then you can spend the $500 on any food. So it can be on campus or off campus, as long as you get a receipt, and compile all of those receipts for at the end of the summer, you'll get reimbursed. So that can be on campus or off campus. It doesn't matter as long as you get your receipt and it's for food.
And that's MRSEC specific. So the Bio REU does not have WHO cash. And if you guys have any questions about how the Bio REU food money works, we're going to be talking about it the first day that I meet with you. Or if you have specific questions earlier than that, you can send me an email.
Okay, so this question says, are there any examples of projects from previous years that that we can start at, and where would you start checking for background information for slides?
So previous years projects. At the end of the 10 weeks, you guys are going to be doing a poster session. And this has happened every year, and you're going to write an abstract about what your project was about. And then there's an online published abstract book that is made from all of the abstracts of the undergrads that are working during that summer. So we can most definitely send you a link to last year's abstract book. The abstract book, however, is just going to give you sort of a rundown of a couple of sentences of background. These are the experiments that they did, and this is the conclusion that they came to. It's not super informative necessarily if you are looking for more detailed experience on a like week-to-week basis. But it will give you an idea of different things that people in labs on campus work on, and these are all undergraduate abstracts. So all of the undergraduates in various labs, you can look them up by lab to see what other undergraduates in that lab happen to be working on, and we can send you out that email.
And then the second part of your question about where you can start looking for background information, a couple places, but I would definitely start at the website of the lab that you'll be joining. That will give you usually a really nice overview of the types of research that gets done in that lab. And then you can take, that place, or that, take that website, and then it will usually give you some indication about current publications from that lab. So you can look at current publications, and then sometimes what you can also do is find a current or relatively current review for the science that's being done there. So that will sometimes, it'll be a bit more, it'll be a nice entryway into the science. Although sometimes there can be still a lot of jargon in review articles. So it's okay. Sometimes when I'm reading a review article for a field that I'm not as familiar with, I print out the PDF. I don't read it online, but this is my style, is I print out the PDF and I mark it up a lot. Like I circle words that I need to look up in Google. I highlight, I write questions, and usually I actually print my PDFs. I'm very conscientious about printing double-sided, but sometimes when I'm doing a project for the first time, I actually print single-sided so that I can write handwritten notes on the back of each of the papers, just for me, because I do a lot of thinking as I write. So that's my style, and so I would say start with the website for the lab, go to primary articles written by that lab, and then also go to review articles, and you can find these through PubMed.
So you're also most likely, when your mentor starts to speak to you the first week, they are going to give you some background reading to do. What I would suggest is once you do that background reading, or once you look at that paper, if there are things you don't understand in that paper, speak to your mentor and tell them that. If they send you a paper saying this is the last paper the lab has published and we're going to be doing work based off of that, and you read the paper and you don't understand anything in it, tell them, I didn't understand that paper. Is there something more basic I can read before going back to this paper? And they will either find you something more basic or help you search online for something more basic. So they can give you tips on what you should be searching for. They could tell you, yes, I know that there's an article that is a summary of all of this. It's by this author with this title. If you search for it, you can find it. Or they might not have something specific to tell you about, but they can sit with you and say, well, if you search for these topics, you might be able to find something that's a little better for you. And then if you read it and say, yes, this is good, they can find you similar things to that. Or if you say, no, this is still something I don't understand, they can look for things that are easier for you to understand.
So as an example of that, when I joined, when I rotated as a first-year graduate student in Bruce Good's lab, he studies, among a lot of things, but kind of like the general theme, it has to do with the actin cytoskeleton. And I didn't know anything about actin at all. And so for me, what I needed to do was because I was a chemistry major from college, so doing this molecular cell biology program. So I hadn't taken that much biology as an undergrad. And so in this lab, the primary research articles went like way over my head. So I actually started with my textbook. I got a textbook, like it was the textbook I had from college and from my intro biology class. And I literally went to the back and found the word actin and read the chapter on it because I needed that much background and context to help me even start reading the primary research articles.
And we're pretty aware that there's a range of knowledge in our current REU students. So there are people who are really knowledgeable in one topic, but not necessarily really knowledgeable in the topic that their lab studies. So while you may be a chemistry major and really knowledgeable about chemistry, but you're interested in neuroscience and you have been put in a neuroscience lab, you may not have the knowledge to be able to read a primary article from that lab and know what's going on. And there are other people who have done research for a while in that field, and so they can jump right in. And we know that there's a range of people and a range of levels of understanding of primary literature. So if it's something you don't understand, we are happy to help you, but we don't know you don't understand it unless you tell us. So if you're reading an article and it doesn't make any sense to you, you need to say something so that somebody can help you with it.
So I got a MRSEC specific question about reimbursement. So in the MRSEC, you can either choose to get the WHO Cash card or opt to buy your own food throughout the summer and then be reimbursed. If you select to do that option, then all of your purchases must be for food. So that means they can be groceries, they could be, sandwiches, it doesn't matter, just food. So it just means like I can't reimburse you for movies or anything like that. So it has to be food, and you need to have a receipt. So those are basically like the guidelines. You can be off campus, on campus, as long as it is food and you have a receipt.
And so your receipt, just to jump into that, your receipt needs to be an itemized receipt. So just sometimes if you pay with your ATM card, you'll get 2 receipts. You'll get your itemized receipt, and then you'll get your receipt that just has a total and sort of where you would have signed if it was a credit card. That is not the receipt that they need. They need the itemized receipt. So you just want to make sure that you keep that one.
And I'm paying attention to the time, and I know that it's past 1:30. So I'm able to talk for a couple more minutes if you guys have some questions. I know that we still have our viewers who are watching. So maybe take a moment and write us a question either by email or on your screen, so that we can address it. And if we if we don't have the time to address it right now, then we'll do it by email later. So is there any last minute things that we haven't touched upon? Please let us know.
So we will be sending out emails that have a link to this video. Mm-hmm. We'll send out emails that also contain the buses that will be running around campus as soon as I can find that information.
And the places for the ID access.
Yes, and we will be sending out an email with a link to the past abstracts.
If there's anything else that you want us to send out, just let us know, and we'll include that. So. Or maybe even let us know that you have a question. So, because I see that you guys are still watching, I think if you're waiting for us, if there's something brilliant that we say.
I'm not sure that we're going to say anything brilliant unless you guys ask any questions.
Right.
If you don't have any questions, it would also be kind of awesome if you just like in
gave
the question box said,
thank you.
This was good. This was confusing.
Yeah.
I'm done, and any of those things, just so we sort of know where you guys stand.
Because from our view, we're not getting any feedback from you guys about if you're even tuning in.
Okay, we'll give you a couple more seconds to let us know if you have anything else to say. I don't see any emails on my side.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a MRSEC specific WHO Cash question. If we opt out, are there any locations on campus we can be excluded from? No, every place on campus will allow you to purchase food with cash, everywhere. So,
or an ATM card, or a credit card.
Right.
So all of those things still apply on campus.
So everywhere that you would use a WHO Cash card, you can use cash. So, or credit card or whatever. So, so again, my qualifications are, it has to be for food and it has to be an itemized receipt. So that's it. Those are just those 2 qualifications, and you just have to compile all of those receipts for at the end of the summer, you'll get reimbursed. So I would suggest that to me, that's the option that I would do, so that I would have the flexibility of buying food. But that also, as a negative, that means that you have to front $500, which might not be in the budget for everybody. It also means that you have to be able to hold on to that many receipts, which is a bookkeeping skill that not everybody feels like they'd be good at. So those are the pros and cons. But
so there are places on campus that will take WhoCash. There are places off campus that will take WhoCash. If you opt for WhoCash, there's still going to be plenty of options for you to eat.
Right.
But if you're interested in buying groceries and making food, the other option might be better for you.
Right. And for the flexibility of it. Okay. With that, unless you give us feedback that you have something else that you want us to address, I think that we're through.
Yeah, I think that covered pretty much everything I wanted to address. And I think we answered all the questions we had so far.
So thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to meeting you. I'll be meeting you on Tuesday at 5 p.m. for dinner, and we'll be meeting at the campus, the Shapiro Science Center, which is the location I've been saying in my emails, and then we'll be able to spend the whole day together on Wednesday.
And I will be meeting the Bio REU students on Wednesday morning for breakfast.
Great. If you have any questions between, okay.
Question? One more question. Okay.
For move-in day on Tuesday, where will we meet the assistant director? So Nate has emailed me that he's going to be basically in the physics building in Abelson. However, I've asked him, so I haven't emailed you because I was waiting for his response, but I've asked if he can go at all during the day to the apartments where you guys will be in your dorms. And I've also asked him for his phone number. So he hasn't emailed me that. So that's why I haven't sent it to you guys, is because I haven't gotten it from him.
That's usually how a lot of our emails go, is we haven't emailed you yet because we haven't got confirmation from other people.
So should you give us so that's be great. This seems like something that's a concern. So if you want to send me your your phone number, excuse me, if you want to send me your phone number so that, if in the event that you don't meet up with Nate in the way that you want, and there's a concern or a question, yeah, that would be convenient, and I'll suggest that other people do that as well. Okay, and yeah, and I'll also send my phone number too. Okay, with that, I look forward to meeting you guys next week. And please email me by Friday at 10 a.m. if you opt out of the WhoCash card, if you want to go with the alternative as I've laid it out. And that's it.
And that's it.
Bye.
We'll see you next week.